Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. It is rainy and cold in Buffalo, and, it's November, so
You don't want to hear here. You don't want to hear what I got going here.
you got 60 and sunny probably, right?
60. It's getting close to 70.
Jesus, you suck.
You see the rosiness in my cheeks.
Oh, yes. Wait. Didn't you just recently have a surgery?
I did, and I put stuff on sunscreen all the
time. There you go. Good man. See,
I'll even go so far as to say this. I mean, the Flyers are having like Hockey Fights cancer tonight, and I've had a couple little scares with skin cancer, and I've been using sunscreen forever. And I never go to the beach, but I do things outside, and you know what? I use sunscreen, but sometimes you can't help it.
I've always traditionally avoided the sun, and people will say, well, of course you avoid the sun, you live in Buffalo. So, all right, start the pre-show, Russ.
So let's talk about Richard Sherman, because I mentioned when the Bucks got him that he was pretty much washed up, and on November 8th Bruce Arians tried to convince the world he's in better shape now and he's good to go, and now he's on the IR. And it's like, but this is like the world of disposable NFL players. They all want to play for a winner, so then they all go to like the Buccaneers or somewhere that has Tom Brady. Some of them are on their last leg, like a Richard Sherman, and these guys just get funneled out of the sport. I've never seen anything like it in any other sport.
Well, the only thing is, I don't know about him specifically, but I'm assuming he took the veteran minimum because, he was in, was it Seattle? He was in San Fran, Seattle, and San Fran, and then he got cut by them.
Yeah, he got $1.35 million for 1 year. I mean, it's not nothing.
Yeah, it's not nothing, but it's close to the veteran minimum. It's sort of like, Odell took the veteran minimum to go to the Rams, and it may be smart for him to do that because he thought there's a chance the Rams could go to the Super Bowl and he could get a lot of passes thrown to him. And Sherman maybe thinks he can get another ring maybe a year too late with Tampa. What I thought was funny was a game a couple weeks ago. He was hurt the week before, and I guess their defensive back coach was out with COVID, so he was helping coach the defensive backs.
Yeah, he's probably better off doing that. They might get their money's worth. Apparently, he hurt his calf in warm-ups, Mike. Like, that's a pretty good indication you're done as a player.
Yeah.
We've seen warm-ups. The guys are not working very hard in warm-ups before a game. They're not.
No, but but we've seen it with athletes even at the top in their top shape that a pulled muscle can happen
once in a while. But this isn't just like a pulled muscle. He's on the IR. Like, it's like if it's just a pulled muscle, he would have been playing this week. He didn't play last week, but it's more than that.
All right, let's start the show.
Yep.
Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, November 18th, 2021.
I'm Russ going from Sportsology.
Hey, at least I have it on my friggin' computer.
You do.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, we'll start with some of the games from last night and sort of take a tangent off of one of them. The Avalanche, who have been struggling this year. McKinnon is out. Makar was out. They have Darcy Kemper and Jonas Johansson, who did the best imitation of a sieve last year in Buffalo, and he's the backup now in Colorado. Things have not gone smoothly to start the year for a team that a lot of people predicted were going to come out of the West. But they beat the Canucks, and the Canucks are the story here, Russ. The Canucks are struggling.
Wait, you're not even going to mention Nazem Kadri's 3-point night?
No.
Wow.
The Canucks are struggling because the Canucks are the story.
Okay.
They're 5-10-2. The only team that they're better than right now are the expansion Kraken. We've heard about Francisco Aquilini traveling with the team during the recent road trip. Now they begin a 3-game homestand on the wrong foot. Now Jim Benning apparently is meeting with the Vancouver media this afternoon, and there was a big poster along the glass. Thank you, Jim. So sarcastically said by the. I'm surprised they didn't start throwing waffles onto the ice.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ, this is the thing. We talked about this with Kevin a couple days ago. Some people thought that Vancouver were improved. I thought they were improved. I didn't know. I wasn't sure how much, but the calculation was that Oliver Ekman-Larsson was that was the big move, and him coming in. There was sort of a roll of the dice because we didn't know.
Well, you and I were skeptical.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be honest, we were skeptical, and then I was hearing information that he could be washed up. I did. I was getting that, and we gave him a fair chance. And early on, we were like, hey, maybe we're wrong. He looks good here. And then that was like 3 games in, and then he hasn't looked good since. So, again, I know what Eck is saying. He fills minutes. That's great. But he's going to have to fill minutes now for the next 7 years or whatever it is. And you need more than that out of him. You honestly do.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Hughes, I don't think it helped that Quinn Hughes and Pettersson missed most of the preseason. We know how ramping up toward the regular season is important for especially star players. Matthews started slowly with Toronto, and now he seems to be getting back into the swing of things, but it can affect players. And, Pettersson is not producing the way people expected him to. Demko, we talked about it yesterday. Demko's numbers were good early on and now have taken a turn for the worse. So
he's got a bad defense there. We knew the defense was challenged. We talked about that, but we also felt like the offense was pretty good and Demko was good. But now this defense has gotten worse because they were banking on Ekman-Larsson and they're not getting it. They're a minus 16 differential. Again, I can't place it at the feet of Thatcher Demko for that. Maybe some games, but again, it's, minus 16 is minus 16.
Yeah. The Blackhawks.
Although, do you care to take a guess at what the Coyotes are?
In terms of what?
Differential.
Oh, I saw it. It was minus 39.
Minus 36.
Yeah.
What is the record? It's minus 80 something?
God, 80, yeah. I think it was the Avalanche the year that they finished.
Right.
They're
going to have a shot at it.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing was, and just, taking a brief tangent onto the Coyotes, I thought it was hilarious that their differential was minus 39, as you said.
36.
36, sorry, minus 36.
Yeah.
I think they have 2 wins this year. Their leading scorer is Shane Gostisbehere, and he's even. He's 0, which, I mean, that's a statement that he's actually having a good year.
Yes, that is a positive for him.
Which probably means he gets traded by the deadline.
Yeah.
Him and Lawson Krause and Phil Kessel and the 12 other unrestricted free agents.
They're 1-9-1 on the road.
It's an embarrassment to the league. So last night, the Blackhawks, who I seem to be sort of righting the ship after Derek King took over for Jeremy Colleton. They're now 5-9-2. They get a 4-2 win over the Kraken in Seattle. Seth Jones, DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, and Jake McCabe with the goals. Fleury with the win. I mean, I don't think that they're going to climb back to where, I thought that they would challenge for a playoff spot. The talent is still there, but I just don't know, based on everything that's happened there, everything that's gone on in the organization. Maybe it's good that Derek King, he doesn't have any attachment to that previous administration, and he's got a veteran coach in Mark Crawford backing him up, and he was promoted to associate coach yesterday. But, I mean, I don't know how to read the whole Blackhawks situation, Russ.
Well, they got a little fired up because Alex DeBrincat had a goal, an assist, and a fight.
Yeah.
You don't expect DeBrincat to fight, but I will say this about DeBrincat. If you're around him, he is a strong guy. He may be small, but if you look at him, he's pretty well built. I would fight a goalie before I'd fight Alex DeBrincat. I always say that. Give me the third goalie. Don't give me a guy like that.
I saw the fight, him and Yanni Gourde. He tuned him up. I mean, it was, Gourde was doing what Yanni Gourde does, and was antagonizing Seth Jones. And Jones took a shot at him, and then DeBrincat said enough, and he went at him, and I thought he got the much better of the fight. So yeah, I mean, and that's good. He's not exactly the biggest guy in the world,
but he's trying to rile up his team. It's a good move to kind of get them out of their doldrums. I'll say that. But Mike, I'll tell you the breaking news here, and I've been reading a lot about it and telling you about it, and I'm going to give an update, and Thomas will be happy. So the Long Island Railroad update is, you don't have to go change at Jamaica anymore, but there is no Elmont stop. It isn't built. It isn't finished yet. So you have to stop at like where Belmont Racetrack stops and then essentially walk from there unless they set up a shuttle service. Even Thomas said here in the chat room, not sure how I'm getting there. Doors open at 5, have to get there at 3 to be able to park, $35 to park there. Now, they're supposed to have a big parking garage that's cheaper than that. And then they have tiered parking, but apparently tiered parking may be the only thing ready that day, which means it's like offshoot parking. It's kind of like when you go to a football game and they have the different things, silver, gold, whatever.
Now, do we know how far it is from the stop to the arena?
Hopefully Thomas will put that in here. I've only seen it on a map, but I don't know what the scale of the map is.
Right.
My guess is you're walking like a quarter of a mile because you got to walk by Belmont Racetrack. It can't be that close.
Right.
And so, we'll see what he says, but they are practicing there now. It looks great on the inside. I would expect there's going to be some other little things that aren't ready there yet. And that's the way it is. But yes, Esmir, the LIRR is more corrupt than Congress. He's right. Again, I a long time ago, I used to go out with someone whose dad was in charge of the MTA, which is probably worse than the Long Island Railroad. Then the Long Island Railroad is second. That's all I could say.
Well, I'll say this.
All right, so wait. So Esmir is saying the Belmont stops next to the highway. Yeah, I get it. But I don't know how close it is from the highway to the rink. Look, if you go on Google Maps, the Elmont, you can't even find the Elmont stop on Google Maps. So it's not that close. And there is like an exit that doesn't even exist in real life yet that's on Google Maps. So I hope on opening night, they're going to have like the Google robot out there updating stuff. There is a free shuttle. Okay, so they're doing the right thing with that because
but they're probably going to be fighting tooth and nail to get on. It's going to be like one of those
on the shuttle.
It's going to be on like one of those like short buses.
I can tell you this: for the 2015 World Series with the Mets, you ended up parking by the Hall of Science where you see the famous globe, from the World's Fair. Mike, you've seen that, right?
Yes.
And so they had shuttles from there too. It sounds great because at least you don't have to walk, and it's true. But like you said, these shuttles are full, man, and you have to wait for them, and it's still an inconvenience.
Okay, based on the scale of the map that I have, which is so UBS is past Belmont Park. The Elmont LIRR station, which you're saying is not even in existence yet?
No, it's in existence. It's not finished, so it doesn't even show up on like Google Maps yet.
Okay, it's I'm looking on Google. It does show it.
Oh, it does show it?
Yeah, but it is. It says here about 3,000 feet. That's more than half a mile.
Well, I said half a mile yesterday. If people wanted to walk, that was my guess. So yeah, there'll be some that'll walk it, and there'll be some that'll wait for the shuttle. Like it's
now. Is this a thing in Nassau Coliseum? Was there tailgating at Nassau?
There was, and I'm not one that's against tailgating. I am against like the NFL tailgating. I think it's a lot worse. I'm going to show a New York bias on this one. But also, I think Philly does tailgating right for the most part. There might be some really dumb Eagles fans that change that. But for the most part, like in Flyers games, their tailgating is fine. Growing up in New York, everything was tailgated, everything. And even in you could still tailgate to some degree at MetLife, but they've cut a lot of it out because, there's not as much parking. But where there is some parking, you can do it. There is a rumor that there won't be any tailgating here. I don't know that. But if it's out there enough, then somebody must know something.
Well, okay, Funky brings this up, and I was gonna mention.
Yeah, Thomas says a 10-minute walk. If it's in the winter, do you want to wait for a shuttle or be on a 10-minute walk? That's the issue.
Yeah, if you have an underground tunnel, it's a 10-minute walk fine. I mean, okay, I have to say I'm spoiled now. Like for Sabres games, when I covered the Sabres, there's a place I park. There's a train. It's a free train going right next to the arena. It's a 2-minute walk into the building. Perfect. With the Leafs, I drive up to QEW. I go to the GO station. I take the train into Union Station. Union Station is right underneath Scotiabank Arena, so I don't even have to walk outside.
It's the same as like for most part when you go to MSG, you could pretty much just you when you get out in there, you don't have to go on the outside for the most part if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it quicker, then yeah, you walk like a block on the outside.
So Funky brings us up. Buffalo Bills tailgating is great. Okay, let's just say this. The great part, I've never been slammed through a table, and I would rather kill myself than get doused with ketchup and mustard. And some idiots do this. But the debate about because the Bills are talking about building a new stadium in Buffalo is, well, let's build it in Orchard Park again, like in the parking lot across the street, because we want to have tailgating. I mean, honestly, I don't care about the tailgating if it means having a better stadium. They're talking about either a dome stadium or a retractable dome downtown Buffalo, which would cost $1 billion more. But it would be downtown next to where the Sabres Arena is, instead of out in the burbs where it's in the snow belt where you get buried. I mean, a couple years ago, they had to dig out the entire stadium. I mean, it was like almost up to the bowl for crying.
I got to tell you, I had a white knuckle ride home from the Winter Classic that day because we didn't stay over, and the snow was bad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The
snow was really bad driving home, worse than when it was during the game. The issue is, like David said, hey, a half mile is not that bad to walk, unless it's February and it's snowing. Yeah. Then tell me it's not bad to walk.
Yeah. The other game last night, the Washington Capitals 2-0 victory over the LA Kings. Ilya Samsonov with the shutout. Garnet Hathaway with 2 goals.
Yeah. I got some things to say on this one for sure.
Yeah, it's a little surprising though. The Capitals are 10-2-5.
I'm not surprised. You could be surprised.
I'm surprised. I mean, especially with Backstrom out, especially with
that's fair with Backstrom out, because of course when I knew I'm not going to say new, right? Because we're all wrong stuff. When I thought they would make the playoffs, I didn't think Backstrom would be out. But I did think their defense was better, and that's where I think that's where the mistake I think was made on guessing for them. But in this game, I saw some things. Well, the first thing is now the Kings have these silver helmets to combat the gold helmets of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So there's that. So look, do whatever gimmick you want. I don't care. I'm going to just move past it because, look, they used to have purple uniforms, right? Like, I can't get wrapped up in that. But what I will tell you about the Capitals defense is they now have some shot blocking machines on there, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk is one of them. And so, as an example, there was a play where Kaliev, who's got a great shot, coming down, and once Kaliev winds up, there is no other play in his arsenal. That, he's not going to get around you. He's not going to go to the net. He's just going to shoot it. And so on that particular play, Trevor Van Riemsdyk gets in front of him, blocks it. And they block a lot of lanes with a lot of shots, and they were frustrating the hell out of the Kings to the point where Deneau was starting to push around with Wilson. But there was a good point on the broadcast, and Connor Sheary pushed Roy into Quick. Now, again, wasn't bad. Quick didn't fall down. But it's enough to draw a penalty, and it didn't. And so now we're all left to guess again now, what's goaltender interference, because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what goaltender interference is. We don't know what kicking the puck is. Could we get some, a determination, an accurate determination of what constitutes certain things? Because when you leave it up to chance, that's when you create contra. I can see a goal in overtime counting with a guy who kicks it like he's friggin' David Beckham, and they don't overturn it. Based on the way things are going right now.
I also will say that in this game, Hathaway jawing with Lemieux was a win for the Capitals, because Brendan Lemieux never knows when to shut it down and actually play hockey because he has talent, and Hathaway does. And that was a big, big edge for the Capitals. And that's something where if the Kings were a better team, I don't think Brendan Lemieux would even be playing.
Yeah, I mean, we know what he brings to a team. We know that if you want players that stir the pot, you know, he's good at that. He's definitely his father's son when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, he could be better. I mean, he could be better if he sort of kept that on the down low. But I think that he probably sees that his career will be longer if he sort of embraces that and plays that way. And I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be longer. I think it's going to be Sean Avery kind of short, if you ask me. I think he's going to get another year or two, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a ton of talent in Los Angeles. See, the thing is,
that's the thing. He's going to get cycled out. If he turned himself into a good fourth-line player and occasionally did that, and he could score 10 goals, he'd have a longer career.
Yeah, well, okay, his career might not be long in Los Angeles, but, you know, as long as there's Arizona, there's a place for him to play.
Well, there won't be Arizona for long either.
Well, that's true. The Houston Coyotes.
They won't be the Coyotes. They'll be something else, Mike.
The Houston Air. I would love the Houston Aeros.
They're not, okay, look, every time we do this, you always want to revert back to what has been there before.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
Why? I mean, you could sell aero bars at the Houston Aeros game.
You can't, because you have to import them. They're too expensive.
Jesus.
What is an import? It's a Canadian import.
Hey, you know, get Nestle to make them, you know, or whatever in the States. They can do it.
But it'll be different because the Canadians use real sugar at times where we use crap. Anyhow.
We used the corn syrup.
Yeah, like Funky said, the Colt 45s. We had our discussion about the Colt 45s recently. If they brought it back with the logo that they had, people would be protesting.
Well, wait a second.
Well, maybe not in Texas, but in Houston probably. They would probably.
Does that mean that Billy D. Williams will be the spokesperson?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Colt 45 malt liquor?
Well, it's not going to be the malt liquor. I don't even know if they're around anymore.
What, Colt 45? No, I don't think so. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I mean, Natty Light's still around, so they could be.
Jesus. Well, please.
And PBR got revived.
Night Train is still around. It doesn't mean it's.
Hold on. I'm looking now to see. Wow, Colt 45 started in 1963. Yeah, Pabst PBR is keeping them alive.
Please, I laugh when I go to a drinking establishment and some metrosexual millennial will order a PBR like it's something like to be proud of.
Yeah.
And I look at them and sort of snicker because that was the beer that was akin to drinking Peels or Jenny Cream Ale if you're talking about Western New York.
It had to be ice cold or I wouldn't touch it.
Well, because you couldn't taste it then.
Right.
That
was the key to it. And that would tell people that I was with. If we're buying this, it's got to be ice cold every minute. But I will tell you this. We always kind of instinctively knew this. Colt 45, 5.6% alcohol by volume. So before the IPAs, they were the higher volume beer to get. And if you've got one of those quarts, you were done, man. Old English, same thing. Here's the slogan. Tell me what the slogan was for Colt 45. They could never use this now.
Yep.
Tell me, you have any guess? Do you know what it was?
I don't remember.
It works every time.
Jeez.
You imagine trying to sell that today as a slogan.
Yep. Black Label was another one.
Yeah.
Peels was another one.
Yeah.
I'm old enough. If you remember,
there's one other college trash beer that I only had when I was I want to say it was at New Paltz, one of those places visiting. Red, white, and blue beer. I have no idea who made it, and it was just called Red, White, and Blue beer. And that's obviously. Well,
I think I mentioned this before. If you remember, I think back in the '80s, you had supermarkets like Aldi or Price Right that had a lot of generic products. There was generic beer. It was beer. It was beer in a yellow can with black lettering that just said beer.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like $4 for a case. It was like a pallet of 24 beers for $4, and you got what you paid for, man.
Yeah, because even back in those days, like a six of Heineken would have been about $4 or $5.
Yeah, I mean,
$4, about $4.
Asmir's like Steel Reserve. I don't remember Steel Reserve, but I do remember Iron City beer, which is around Pittsburgh. That swill was disgusting. But also, when the border was basically, if you wanted to cross the border, you cross the border, and we would go to Fort Erie where they had the Brewers retail, and you could get Molson Brador, which was 9% alcohol.
Yeah, that's what I used to fill my trunk with. That.
Oh,
I would go up and visit a friend. I go stop at like a gas station, and I get like 2 cases of it and put it in my trunk. Those little brown bottles. It was great.
Yes, Funky says Molson Genuine Ice Tang. Thank you. Yes, everything is Tang with Funky.
Now Tony says Labatt 50 is headache beer. Triple X. If you get Labatt Triple X and just have one of those,
Johnny Labatt
nowadays, because I'm a lightweight, you're good.
Johnny Labatt's extra stock. And then they had the Christmas. Remember they had the Christmas beers, like the Bach beers. Oh
yes.
God. All right. Let's talk about
one more thing about Jonathan Quick. So in the game against the Capitals, he did play really well. I'll tell you what the difference in Quick is right now. He used to be crazy flexible as far as post to post and on loose pucks. And now it's funny. And now what the difference with him is, he's not giving up many rebounds and he's not overplaying these pucks.
Right.
If he does that, he might be able to, save his career here.
I think there's an outside shot, like I said yesterday, where where they, as the third goalie for Team USA, if they don't want, Campbell is a very happy-go-lucky guy, and maybe you want that type of a personality as the third goalie, pumping the tires.
Yeah, because as a third guy, knowing you're not going to play much, Campbell would be more rah-rah than Quick.
Funky's he's poking the bear here.
I know he's poking the bear here.
Okay.
And they already exist. Like pumpkin spice beers already exist.
Oh, please. Around October, I go to a bar a few years ago, and they had the pumpkin beer, and they, how like a margarita, they'll put the rim in like a salt thing. Yeah. They put the rim in cinnamon and sugar.
I will tell you this: in New York, on a particular show, they wanted to, enrage people, so they had these signs, and one of them was, "Pumpkin pie is horrible." And actually, it was you have no idea how many New Yorkers agreed with that, to the point where someone, the guy who was hosting it said, "Well, it's a delicacy. That's why we only have it once or twice a year." And they were like, "No. It's horrible. That's why anybody can only stomach it once or twice a year," and that's true.
That's a bridge too far. Pumpkin pie is good.
It's not a bridge too far.
Pumpkin pie is good. I don't want it.
Let me ask you this: after Halloween, I had at least 3 or 4. I counted at least 3 or 4 pumpkins that were smashed on the street. Did you see any?
I didn't see any. So, but I was waiting for the elephants to step on them. There was a video of elephants just like destroying.
And that's another, Funky's right. Another woman said, all it really is squash, and you're putting it in a pie. And she's right.
Well, okay.
It is akin to squash.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a cousin of squash. Yes. But I mean, I like sweet potato pie.
Yeah, I'm not big on it. I mean, I get with the marshmallows. I can stomach it. I'm not big on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk, because we talked about the goaltending for Team Canada yesterday, and I was like, let's talk about some of the dark horse candidates for the team. Like, we know Connor McDavid is going to be on the team. We know Crosby. We know Marchand and Bergeron, because they're still really good. Nathan McKinnon, if he's healthy.
Isn't that a line? Marchand, Bergeron, and Crosby. That's going to be a line.
Well, that was the line in 2014, and they're all great. So I would say that a guy like Mark Stone is probably a lock, unless he's not healthy. I think Mitch Marner is. These are the guys we think are definites.
Yes.
But there are a number of guys that I think we think are sort of dark horses. And those are the ones that we'll debate when they announce the team and say, oh, my God, this is a stupid pick, or, oh, my God, this is a great pick. I'll start, Russ. I think there's a good chance, even though, he's had good years. He had good years with the Leafs. Now he's in Edmonton, and he's playing with either McDavid or Draisaitl. And I think this is the reason why Zach Hyman will make it. One, he's a really, really good penalty killer. He's a shutdown defensive forward. He's played with McDavid. He's also played with John Tavares, who could be a dark horse guy. And Marner's probably going to make the team. So you could have a line of Hyman, Tavares, and Marner that played together. And we always say that familiarity is a big thing in these short tournaments. So I think Hyman has a good chance, but I think right now he's a dark horse because I don't think he was on the radar last year.
No, he definitely wasn't on the radar, but I think you have an injury and you start thinking about it. And if they are looking at the team in terms of lines and not just overall talent, which is the way to look at it, I think there's a chance.
Now, one of your dark horses?
Andrew Mangiapane.
Oh, boy, I'm glad Ek is not here.
I mean, he does have 11 goals. He doesn't have a ton of assists, but he is a spark plug. And as like a spare part for Canada on their third line, that's a nice little scoring guy to have on the third line. So he has to keep scoring, though. Like, if he goes cold, he's not going to make it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, one of the things we talked about is the preponderance of centers.
Oh my God!
I mean, and this is the thing. I'm just looking at something that that Chris Johnston wrote in September, and just taking his lines, his combinations. He's got McKinnon playing wing. He's got Bergeron playing wing. He's got Tavares playing wing. He's got Stamkos playing wing. He's got Scheifele as an extra, and he's got Barzal as an extra. So
who are his centers?
His centers are McDavid, Crosby, Point, and Couturier.
Okay, now I think Couturier is a long shot only because I don't think all those guys are playing on the wing. I think Couturier is going to have to win a center spot, though, because he doesn't play on the wing. I think they'll put some of those centers on the wing. I don't think it makes sense to put like Matt Barzal on the wing. You put him on the wing, he doesn't play great off the wall. He just doesn't. There are some guys that can do it and do it well, and then there's other guys like Tavares. He never had a game predicated on speed anyhow, so he was always good on the tough work on the walls and everything else. So for him, it makes sense. McKinnon's a freak of nature. That's fine. But I think it's between someone like Barzal and Couturier, to be honest. I don't think they're both a guarantee to make it. I think one will and one might not.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. I do think that there might be a feel that, they can't have like 6 centers playing wing.
There's going to be a feel. Someone's going to say it like it's too many.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need at least a couple sort of power wingers to, because you're going to run up against some physicality. I mean, okay, I think Team USA is in the same bracket as Canada, and if Team USA brings out Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk and
let's say Chris Kreider. And they may not be as strong up the middle, but they may be much stronger on the wing. So yes.
Yeah,
I think you have to have some guys like that on Canada to offset the potential big and strong that the U.S. can bring on the wing. So you don't want to put all centers there because some of them are not hard checking guys like that.
Now, I don't particularly I mean, the guy that, and I'll switch to defense here.
Okay.
I think that a guy like Thomas Chabot, who eats up minutes, is playing 26, 27 minutes a night for Ottawa, is pretty much a shoe-in. I think Pietrangelo is a shoe-in. I'm not – and even though he's been injured this year, I think Makar is
a shoe-in. He's at 10 points, 11 games.
I don't think – and it's going to really depend on – how he comes back from the injury, I don't think Drew Doughty is a shoo-in.
No, I think he's a shoo-in. If he could skate, he's in. He was the best defenseman in the league until he got hurt.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If it depends on the injury.
Yes.
If he's
it definitely does.
If he's fully back, then fine. Then you're now. Again, CJ has Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo as one pairing. Familiarity there. That makes sense. Shabbat and Makar, Morgan Riley and Dougie Hamilton as the third pairing. Ekblad and possibly a Bowen Byram or a Doughty.
Byram's got injury problems.
And I don't think they're going to bring in Duncan Keith.
No, they're going to need a Doughty. They do need a Doughty there.
Yeah, but I do think that Ekblad's having a bounce back year.
I don't even think Ekblad. I think CJ is wrong about having Ekblad on that extra list. I think that's completely wrong. I think he will be one of the top 6. They'll pick 8. They'll pick 8 defenders. No, I know, but he'll be one of the 6 that starts.
But I don't like, of the extra defensemen that he has listed, like obviously Weber's not playing any longer. Duncan Keith, they may want a veteran, but that's Doughty. That's not going to be Keith. Samuel Girard, maybe. Colton Parayko's. Yeah, I don't think he's having much of a really that great of a year. Brent Burns, Josh Morrissey. I think he's got it right on the 8 defensemen.
No, I don't. I think. Well, he might have it right on the 8. There's no way you're starting Shea Theodore over Aaron Ekblad. That's just dumb.
Well,
I don't care about familiarity. Okay. You're talking about Aaron Ekblad, who literally, when he's on the ice, you have to change your game plan. You're not changing your game plan for Shea Theodore. As good a player as he is, you're not.
And Funky, I disagree with this because Morgan Riley has been considered on the left side of Team Canada for basically the last 2 years. I've heard his name mentioned frequently. Now, he didn't have a great year last year. He's having a really good year this year. And their left side is not strong.
Yeah.
Their left side is, Theodore, Shabbat, Riley. That's not strong. Their right side is much stronger than the left side. So yeah. I think
we'll take questions from the chat room.
Yeah. I was going to just say that. So, just to mention some some other stuff here. I was just Darren Drager reported yesterday that. And Elliot Friedman also reported it today that it's not 100% sure that Tuukka Rask is limited to just the Bruins in terms of a team that he would come back for. I agree. I think maybe that's to get a little more money out of Boston.
I don't even think he wants that. I think this is all just conjecture. I think it's 100% conjecture because he stayed in Boston all summer to rehab. He's still in Boston.
Right.
He's made his money. Yes, he doesn't want to get the lowest offer in the league, but he just wants something respectable. And they could send Swayman down. So you tell me how this isn't set up for Tuukka Rask to walk back in. No, not buying it. Sorry.
Now here's a little wrinkle from for the Olympics that Elliot Friedman reported yesterday. The new IOC president, Luc Tardif, who's from France, said on Tuesday that a decision will be made on whether China's men's hockey team competes in the Olympics. That decision will be made by next week.
Who's even on it? It's such a farce.
And that's the whole point. It's basically a bunch of mercenaries.
It's gonna be like the Laugh Olympics. Who are you putting in there?
Right. It's okay, they're the host country, and I guess they have the right. But if there's nobody from China on the team,
what they should have done is they should have went out and bought former NHLers. They should have gotten Gretzky. They should have gotten players like that. Basically like what they did on The Simpsons. For their All-Star team.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. But according to this report,
you remember that All-Star game for the Simpsons?
I do.
It was great.
I just don't have a reply because it's funny. Okay. According to the report, if China does not play Norway would be the replacement for them.
Yeah, that's much better. I mean, I get it. The local fan base may not be happy, but do they want to see actual hockey or not? Like, that would be the question.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take Carter Hutton will be team.
No, David Ayers would be the starting goalie for China. I fully agree with Tony on that. That's perfect.
Tony, no. If Tuukka Rask signed, he would not have to clear waivers. I believe you'd have to clear waivers if it was after the deadline and then he couldn't play in the playoffs.
Right.
But
no, he'll be back before that. Even if he's not playing, they'll just make sure he's on the roster.
Connor McDavid, I guess, snapped back at Tortorella.
Good.
Some report. No, I see. This is the thing. I don't disagree with Torts here.
No, but I do, because again,
I think
nobody has said anything before. Nobody would. Again, he's a point-a-game player in the playoffs,
right? But
he doesn't have a great team.
His teams don't win.
Okay, but Mike, even when we're talking about,
I'm not expecting Connor McDavid to all of a sudden become Steve Casper. I'm just saying he's been intimidated in playoffs. He's been beaten up in playoffs.
That's not the reason they lose. Trust me.
The reason they lose is because the team's not good
enough. 100% wrong. And I'm glad Connor McDavid said something, because you know what? It's easy to just pick on Connor McDavid and say, yeah, you know what? Play harder, buddy, or you're never going to win. Like, that's the reason.
Why doesn't Patrick Marleau announce his retirement? I think it's only a matter of time. He hasn't been signed by anybody. I think right now he's not doing anything because he's hoping he can sign with a team and continue his games played streak. Because
I think he's in the queue in the NHLPA. It seems like once every 2 weeks they're announcing somebody's retirement. So like Dion Phaneuf was last up. You know, Marleau will be like in February.
Yeah, he's in the queue like I'm in the queue for my new couch. Yes. Yes. Let's see. Any other questions here? It's not Crackstall. It's Crackstall for me and Dave Hackstall. I thought you meant. I thought Michael Cohen was talking about Kravtsov, and he said Crackstall. No. Jeez. Well, let's just mention what Ack posted on his blog.
Sure. Let's talk about it.
Cole Caulfield was called up by the Canadiens today after a good game against the Toronto Marlies yesterday. The Laval Rocket were trailing 5-1, came back, tied the game, won in a shootout, and the Habs, who are a train wreck to end all train wrecks. They're calling up Caulfield, hoping that he's more infused with confidence and that he'll play well now. I don't think I have a problem with it. He's a good young player, and maybe now he's a little more confident. That's what they did, is send him down there to get his confidence back.
Right. They wanted him to go down there, score. He scored. He helped engineer a comeback against the Marlies. What were they down? 5-1, something like that. I mean, that's what you want. It doesn't mean he's up for the year, and it doesn't mean he was going to be down for the year. But you're taking his temperature now, because it's like, if all of a sudden that gives him the jump start that he needed, there's no point in him being in the AHL. The -6 part means nothing, by the way. Everybody's saying he's -6. Who cares? You're not getting Cole Caulfield for his plus-minus. And if the power play is really good on Montreal and he's scoring, he'll have a good plus-minus. Does that mean he's better defensively than he was before? No. Just means it's the circumstances. So I think this is the right move, and I disagree with that.
Yeah. All right. We'll end the show there. We'll be back tomorrow with Kevin Allen and hopefully Eck.
One last thing, because Esmir has a good thing here. What do I think about the Utica Devils being 11-0 with Dineen? Listen, Kevin Dineen was a terrific player, smart, and he's a smart coach. Kevin Dineen could get a sniff here in the NHL at some point, because he's been around and he has coached before. I think he's done all the right things. Wasn't he the coach of the women's team for some other country because he couldn't get a coaching job?
Canada, I think.
Yeah, it was for Canada, and he did a great job there. So I think Kevin Dineen will be back. I do.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their the Utica's roster right now, and it's, you got some young players, Zetterlund, who played for Sweden, Jesper Boquist.
They have talent.
But it's Alexander Holtz was down there for a few games. Had five.
He was a goal a game.
Yeah, more than that. 5 goals in 4 games. So yeah, and so I mean he's doing a good job. And Nico Dawes was playing pretty well for them. So yeah, no, I mean I believe me, the way they recycle coaches in the NHL, a guy who's deserving like Kevin Dineen will deserve a chance. So,
Yes.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.